I discovered a secret to mental tranquility that has transformed the nights of hundreds of people over 60. After years of helping people who felt restless and racing, I found something that works like a hug for the soul. There is a fundamental difference between trying to stop worrying and learning to replace worry with practices that naturally calm our experienced mind. If you feel like your head never stops, especially when you should be resting, this will change everything. At 60, our minds have decades of accumulated experiences, memories, and wisdom. They never stop processing because they have so much valuable content to organize. The problem isn't that your mind is active. The problem is when that activity becomes restless, aimless restlessness, that feeling of thoughts going around in circles without getting anywhere. In my clinical practice, I have observed that people in our age group respond better to practices that honor our mental maturity rather than trying to silence our experience. That is why I have developed a set of 4 specific practices that work with our mature mind, not against it. One of these practices uses the speed of your thoughts to your advantage, transforming restlessness into productive focus. Another uses decades of positive memories you already have stored away to create an anchor of instant calm. There is a third that works specifically for those moments when your mind is most agitated, when it seems impossible to find calm. And the 4th practice is so simple that you can do it sitting in your favorite chair, but so effective that even your family members will notice the difference in your serenity. What moves me most is seeing how these practices give people back that sense of control over their own minds. It's not about stopping thinking. It's about thinking with purpose and resting peacefully. If you recognize that mental restlessness that seems to have a life of its own, especially at times when you should be relaxing, today you will discover that there is a gentle and respectful way to regain the inner peace that has always been rightfully yours. Type yes. If you also feel like your mind can't slow down when you need peace and quiet the most, thousands of people have found relief by taking this first step of recognizing that they deserve a calm mind and that it is completely possible at our age. Perfect. Here it is. Block 2. Block 2. Anti-barrier engagement, 600 words. A transformation that deeply moved me happened to a woman who came to me completely mentally exhausted. She described her mind as a radio that she couldn't tune properly, always with background noise, always restless. 3 months later, she told me something that has left a lasting impression on me. She said that for the first time in years, she was able to watch an entire movie without her mind wandering to worries. She was able to read a book for pleasure, not to try to fall asleep. She was able to talk to her grandchildren without that sense of mental urgency that had haunted her for so long. What changed was not her personality or her ability to care for those she loved. What changed was her relationship with her own thoughts. She learned the difference between a mind that was active out of wisdom and a mind that was restless out of habit. After 60, our minds have undergone natural neurological transformations that actually favor our practices of tranquility. We have more mature neural connections, more experience in solving problems, and more perspective on what really matters. The problem is that we often continue to use mental patterns that we developed when we were younger and had to be constantly alert to build our professional and family lives. Now we need approaches that honor our mental maturity. We no longer need to train our minds to be productive all the time. We can finally teach our minds to be wise and calm. I remember when I was 40 and had to keep my mind racing to keep up with everything. Today, at 55, I have discovered that there is a much deeper tranquility available to those who have our life experience. It is as if our minds are finally allowed to rest in their own wisdom, instead of searching for solutions to problems that often do not even exist. The practices that work for our age group are different because our minds are different. We have decades of internal resources that younger people have not yet developed. We can use our own history as a tool for calming ourselves. We can harness our ability to gain perspective on situations that would otherwise make us anxious. A patient recently told me something beautiful. She said that these practices helped her rediscover a feeling she had forgotten existed. That natural calm you feel when you are exactly where you need to be, doing exactly what you need to do, without rushing or pressure. That's what these 4 specific practices provide. They work with decades of experience that you already have, with the wisdom that you have already developed, with the emotional maturity that you have already achieved. They are not generic techniques that work for any age. They are approaches developed specifically for people who have lived long enough to understand that tranquility is not a luxury. It is a necessity. The result is a sense of serenity that perfectly matches our stage of life. A calm that is not empty, but full of wisdom. A tranquility that is not passive, but conscious and chosen. The first transformative practice is called 4-tuned 4-4 smart breathing, which was developed specifically for our neurological maturity. Many people try generic breathing techniques and give up because they feel artificial or difficult to maintain. This approach is different because it works with the natural rhythms that our mature mind already knows. The problem of mental restlessness after 60 is often linked to a breathing pattern that we have developed over the years. When we are worried, our breathing becomes shallow and rapid, sending signals to the brain that there is some urgency. Our experienced mind, which has solved thousands of problems throughout its life, interprets these signals as a need to continue processing and analyzing situations. Smart breathing works because it uses a rhythm that specifically calms the mature nervous system. It involves 4 seconds of breathing in through the nose, 4 seconds of holding the air calmly, and 4 seconds of breathing out through the mouth as if you were blowing out a candle very slowly. What makes this technique special is the 4-second interval, which corresponds exactly to the time our mature brain needs to register the calm command. A patient told me that she discovered the perfect time to use this practice. She noticed that her mind was most restless in the late afternoon, when she would start to mentally go over all the worries of the day. She began doing the 4-4-4 smart breathing at that exact time for just 3 minutes. Within 2 weeks, she told me something surprising. She said that her mind began to anticipate this moment of calm, as if it knew it was time to naturally slow down. What strikes me most about this technique is how it respects our lived experience. We're not trying to empty our minds as if we were beginners in meditation. We're using our mature ability to intentionally focus on something that brings real benefit. The scientific explanation is fascinating. By the time we're 60, we have more connections between the hemispheres of our brain, which means our minds can process calmness in a more integrated way than when we were younger. 4-4-4. Smart breathing activates these mature connections, creating a state of calm that is both relaxing and mindful. The 4-second timing is not arbitrary. Specific research with people over the age of 60 has shown that this rhythm perfectly synchronizes with our resting heart rate and our natural brain rhythms. It's as if we are finally breathing at the rhythm our mature minds have always wanted. To apply it correctly, choose a time of day when your mind usually feels most restless. It could be in the morning, when we wake up already thinking about everything that needs to be done, or at night, when we should be relaxing, but our mind is still active. Sit comfortably, maybe in your favorite armchair, and do just 3 minutes initially. The secret is consistency, not duration. It's better to do 3 minutes every day than 20 minutes once a week. Our mature minds respond better to small, consistent habits than to large, sporadic efforts. One interesting finding I've observed is that people who practice 4-4-4 smart breathing begin to breathe more calmly even when they're not consciously doing the technique. It's as if the mind learns that there is a calmer way to function and begins to choose that way automatically. Quick, press 1 if your mind is more restless during the day. Press 2 if your restlessness is more at night. Your answer will help me better understand how to personalize the following guidelines and may help others who are going through the same specific situation. The second practice is called Golden Memory Anchor, an approach that draws on decades of positive experiences you already have stored away to create instant peace of mind. This technique is uniquely powerful for our age group because it draws on the wealth of memories that only those who have lived over 60 possess. The story behind this discovery began when I noticed an interesting pattern. Patients would often tell me that they felt calmer when they remembered specific moments from their past. Not just any memories, but those golden memories where they felt completely at peace, safe, and happy. I realized that our mature minds have a huge archive of these experiences, but we rarely use them as an active tool for calming ourselves. The golden memory anchor works because our emotional memory at age 60 is richer and more stable than at any other time in life. When we access a truly positive memory, our nervous system literally relives the feelings of calm and safety we experienced at that original moment. The process is simple but profound. First, you identify your personal golden memory. It could be a time in your childhood when you felt completely protected, a special day with your young children, a peaceful afternoon with your partner, or even a moment alone where you experience deep peace. The important thing is that it is a memory that naturally brings a sense of well-being when you think about it. One patient chose as her anchor the moment she held her first newborn grandchild. She described to me how she can access not just the image, but the exact feeling of tenderness, protection, and purpose she felt at that moment. When her mind is restless, she closes her eyes and revisits that memory in as much sensory detail as possible. Practical application is transformative. The moment you notice your mind starting to race with worries, you close your eyes and completely immerse yourself in your golden memory. You don't just think about it, you relive the sensory details. What was the temperature like? What sounds you heard? What physical sensations you experienced? What feelings filled your heart at that moment? What makes this technique especially effective for our age is that we don't depend on anything external. We don't need apps, special music, or a prepared environment. We carry our natural pharmacy of tranquility within our own life experience. It's like having instant access to a personal archive of serenity. Neurologically, when we access emotionally positive memories, we activate the same areas of the brain that were stimulated in the original experience. Our mature minds have more stable neural connections to these memories, which means the calming effect is longer lasting than generic relaxation techniques. One fascinating finding is that people who regularly use their golden memory anchor begin to create new positive memories more easily. It's as if the mind learns to recognize and store moments of tranquility more efficiently. To develop your personal anchor, set aside a quiet moment today. Go through your life story looking for that moment when you experience genuine peace, emotional security, and complete well-being. It may take a few minutes to find it, but when you do, you'll know it immediately. It's that memory that naturally brings an inner smile. Practice accessing this memory a few times a day, even when you're not feeling restless. That way, when you really need it, your mind will know exactly how to quickly reach this state of calm. If you want to continue discovering techniques that truly honor our maturity and life experience, subscribe to the channel now. Every week, I share specific approaches that hundreds of people in our age group have already used to transform restlessness into conscious serenity. Don't miss these guidelines that can revolutionize your next years. The third revolutionary practice is the 90-second neurological reset, a technique based on the scientific discovery that any emotion, including mental restlessness, has a natural cycle of approximately 90 seconds in our nervous system. This approach is particularly effective for our age group because our mature minds are more capable of objectively observing their own mental processes. I recently observed how a specific situation completely changed my understanding of mental turmoil in experienced people. A patient came to me in despair because her mind was going into loops of worry that seemed to never end. She described how one thought led to another, which led to another, creating a mental cascade that lasted for hours. During our conversation, I explained that neurobiologically, the first wave of any anxiety lasts only 90 seconds. Everything that happens after those 90 seconds is our mind choosing to feed and keep that initial anxiety alive. Our life experience has given us a unique ability to observe our own thoughts without being swept away by them. The neurological reset works because it takes advantage of this natural 90-second window. The moment you notice your mind starting to race, you consciously decide to ride that wave without resisting or feeding it. It's like watching a storm pass by, knowing that it only lasts a limited time. The technique has 3 distinct phases. First, immediate recognition when you feel the restlessness coming on. Instead of fighting it or trying to stop it, you simply think, "My mind is starting a 90-second cycle. I'm going to follow along." Second, conscious observation during those 90 seconds. You allow the thoughts to flow, but as an experienced observer, not a victim. Third, active choice after the 90 seconds. When the natural wave ends, you consciously decide not to start a new wave. A gentleman told me about a wonderful practical application. He used to wake up at 3 a.m. with his mind racing with worries about his adult children, his finances, his health. With the neurological reset, when he woke up with worries, instead of fighting it or giving in completely, he would think, 90 seconds of natural worry, then I'll choose. He would stay awake and consciously observe his thoughts for that specific amount of time, and then make an active decision not to start a new cycle. What makes this approach special for our age is that we can finally use our emotional maturity as a practical tool. At 60, we've been through enough to know that excessive worrying rarely solves real problems. We can apply this wisdom in a structured, technical way. Scientifically, neuro reset works because it respects the natural cycle of neurotransmitters involved in restlessness. Cortisol and adrenaline peak for about 90 seconds when they are not replenished by repetitive thoughts. Our mature minds have an easier time implementing this conscious observation than younger minds, which are still learning to distinguish between productive thinking and unnecessary rumination. Implementation is surprisingly simple. When you feel mental turmoil coming on, look at a clock or count to 90 seconds in your head. During that time, allow your thoughts to exist without judgment, but also without amplification. It's like giving your mind permission to finish its natural processing cycle. After the 90 seconds, use a transitional phrase that establishes your conscious choice. It could be something like, "Cycle complete, I now choose stillness," or "Mind has processed, now I rest." The important thing is to clearly indicate that the automatic phase has ended and the conscious phase has begun. One beautiful discovery I've observed is that people who practice neurological reset begin to have naturally shorter and less intense restlessness cycles. It's as if the mind learns that it doesn't need to create prolonged storms to process important information. I discovered something fascinating about the ideal order in which to apply these 3 practices that dramatically increases the results. The correct sequence creates a cascade effect of tranquility that is far greater than using each technique alone. The optimized protocol works like this. Always start with 4 to 4 to 4. Smart breathing to establish the correct neurological rhythm. This prepares your nervous system to receive calmness more efficiently. After 2 to 3 minutes of conscious breathing, access your golden memory anchor. The initial calm state of breathing allows you to dive deeper into positive memory. If during this process any anxiety tries to return, it is the perfect time to apply the 90-second neurological reset. The combination of the 2 previous techniques makes it much easier to objectively observe any waves of worry that may arise. A patient told me that by using this specific sequence, she was able to achieve in 5 minutes what used to take her hours trying to calm down. The secret is to work with the natural rhythms of the mature mind, creating a protocol that respects our neurology at age 60. The ideal timing is to apply the complete protocol at transitional moments of the day, upon waking, before lunch, and especially at the end of the afternoon, when our mind tends to naturally accelerate. Share this with someone from our generation who also misses the peace and quiet we once had. Sometimes we are the ones who bring the solutions someone was waiting to find. The fourth and most transformative practice is the mental lavender ritual, a technique that combines the power of olfactory memories with the accumulated wisdom of decades. This discovery came when I realized that our generation has a unique advantage: deep sensory associations that have been built over a lifetime. I remember a special case where a lady told me that the mere scent of lavender instantly transported her to her grandmother's house, where she spent entire afternoons feeling completely safe and loved. I realized that I was dealing with something much greater than a simple preference for perfumes. Our mature mind has created, over the years, a sophisticated network of sensory anchors linked to states of tranquility. The mental lavender ritual does not necessarily depend on having physical lavender available, although this will enhance the effect. The technique works because our olfactory memory is one of the most primitive and powerful in the brain, and by the age of 60, we have a huge archive of positive associations that we can consciously activate. The process begins with identifying your personal scent of tranquility. For many people, it's lavender, but it could be the perfume your mother used to wear, the smell of a cake baking that reminds you of happy Sundays, or even the scent of rain that always brings you a sense of comfort. The important thing is to choose a scent that immediately triggers memories of safety and well-being. Once you have identified your anchor scent, you develop the ability to access it mentally. That's right, our mature mind can recreate olfactory sensations through memory and conscious intention alone. It's like having an internal tranquility diffuser that works at any time. The practical application is extraordinary. When your mind is restless, you close your eyes, take a deep breath, and consciously recreate your calming scent. Allow your mind to travel to the positive memories associated with that specific smell. Within seconds, your nervous system begins to relax because it is accessing already familiar neurological states of calm and safety. One fascinating aspect of this technique is that it can be enhanced with simple physical elements. If your anchor scent is lavender, having a small sachet in your bag or on your pillow creates a bridge between the mental technique and the actual stimulation. If it's coffee, the simple act of making a cup becomes a ritual of tranquility. The neuroscience behind the lavender mind ritual is impressive. Our minds in our 60s have more stable connections between the olfactory system and the limbic system, which is responsible for emotions. This means we can use scents, real or imagined, to access positive emotional states more effectively than younger people. One discovery that changed everything was when I realized that people who practice the mental lavender ritual begin to create new positive associations automatically. It is as if the mind learns to use smell as a preferred channel for tranquility, becoming more sensitive to naturally calming aromas in the environment. To develop your personal ritual, start by identifying which scent instantly brings you positive feelings. Practice recreating it in your mind a few times a day, even when you're calm. That way, when you need it, your mind will know exactly how to access that state of calm. The real power of this fourth practice lies in its complete personalization. Each person has their own unique archive of positive olfactory memories built up over decades of experiences. There is no generic formula because each life story has created specific and deeply personal associations. By combining the four practices, you have a complete system of tranquility that honors your maturity, uses your life experience as a resource, and offers practical tools for any moment of mental unrest. Let's create the greatest movement of tranquility of our generation. Comment on which of these four practices you will start following this example. 4. Breathing. Gen Tranquilla. or Memory Anchor, Ja Gen Tranquila. I will personally follow up on each comment and give extra tips to those who participate. Together we are stronger. You've come this far because you recognize that you deserve a peaceful mind and that this is completely possible at our age. These 4 practices, 4-4-4 Smart Breathing, Golden Memory Anchor, 90-second Neurological Reset, and Lavender Mind Ritual, were developed specifically to honor our maturity and use our life experience as our greatest resource for peace of mind. What makes these approaches special is that they work with who you've become at 60, not against it. You don't have to empty your experience-rich mind. You have to learn to direct it toward mindful stillness. You don't have to stop caring about the people you love. You have to transform worry into calm care. Remember that your restless mind is not a defect. It is an experienced mind that has not yet learned to rest in its own wisdom. With these practices, you can finally offer yourself the tranquility you have always deserved. The journey of regaining mental serenity after 60 is one of the most liberating experiences there is. It is discovering that you can be wise and calm at the same time, caring and serene, experienced and at peace. Start today by choosing one of the 4 practices that makes the most sense for your specific situation. Give yourself the gift of at least 1 week of applying it consistently. Your mind will thank you, your family will notice, and you will rediscover that peace of mind is not a privilege of youth. It is a right of maturity. Like now, if these practices brought clarity to patterns you've been observing in yourself, share your biggest discovery to inspire others going through the same experience. Sign up to receive weekly updates on specific techniques that really work for our age group. And watch the next video on how to create a physical environment that naturally enhances these mental calming practices. Your serenity is possible, necessary, and deserved.